Welcome everybody to the In the Paint Show, episode 140. Another action-packed episode here with my co-hosts Chelsea Hopkins and Umana. Everybody's moving around. We're in different places right now. So how are you doing, Chelsea?
I'm doing good, Ronnie. I just got to Tunisia yesterday, so I'm very jet lagged, but I'm still happy to be with you guys and ready to go.
Ani, what's going on with you, man? Where are you at these days?
None, man. Just moving in Atlanta right now, but just, I can't stay still.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in LA where I'm normally at. I'm usually in LA or Vegas, but we're gonna jump around topics, talk about a little bit of cool things, a little bit of serious things, and obviously we have a good guest who was at the Pangos Festival, the co-MVP. He did very well. Jeremy Fears from the Midwest, so he'll be joining us a little later. But Chelsea, just tell us where exactly are you at? Like what part of the world is that? I don't even when you say that, I'm like, I don't know where that's at.
So Tunisia is actually a country in northern Africa. So Africa, some people get confused, is a continent. So it's very big and consists of a lot of countries. So I'm in Tunisia, which is in northern Africa. So the interesting thing about northern Africa, although Africa is the motherland, for myself, northern Africa is heavily Arab and Muslim. So they have a lot of Arab and Muslim communities out here. The reason I'm here is to play in the Arab Championship. And there is a small body of water that separates northern Africa and the Middle East. So this tournament that I'm in heavily consists of Middle Eastern teams, Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt. And then if you cross the small body of water, there's Tunisia, Morocco, some of these African countries that are, kind of considered Middle Eastern because of their Arab presence. So that's where I'm here, 30 days, Arab Championship. I have like about 2 weeks of practice. And then towards the end of the month, we'll do a tournament. It's about 6 games in 12 days, winner take all. That's it.
Wow.
They get to the bag.
I need it. How it is, Ani. I need it. So.
I already know.
She's working. I know you've been working on your game before you left, so that's great. Yeah, I was like, when you told me that, I said, where she's at? So, great. This is been a lot of things that happened since we last been on. Obviously, with the WNBA's going playoffs, obviously Chelsea, the Aces had their fan base coming out the last few games, and they're in the semifinals, correct? So tell us what's going on with the WNBA. Give us a little update.
Yeah, so just as far as the W, we're down to the final 4 teams, in the semifinals of the playoffs. The top 4 teams all advanced. So the Aces, as the number 1 seed, are playing the 4 seed in Seattle Storm. The 2 seed Chicago Sky is playing 3 seed Connecticut Sun. So interestingly enough, game 1 of both rounds has already taken place. It happened on Sunday, and both road teams and lesser seeds actually won. So the Aces lost at home, I think, by 3 points to Seattle Storm. And then the Connecticut Sun won on the road at Chicago by 4 or 5 points as well. So the series is 0-1 for the higher seeds right now at the moment. Game 2 is actually going to take place tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. But it's been very competitive so far. I actually got to watch both games while I was on the plane, or the Aces game I was actually watching on my layover. And then I caught a little bit of the Connecticut-Chicago game while I was actually on the plane. Yeah, it's just going to be a dogfight. I mean, everybody had the Aces, kind of being the favorites. And I still think that they are, even though they dropped this first game. But, Seattle has the experience. They're riding the wave of Sue Bird's final season.
Sure.
So she actually was exceptional in the first game. I was surprised. But, just her veteran leadership. And, she's kind of been there, done that before. 12 assists, 0 turnovers, just really steady. So Seattle just came out looking pretty good. And as far as Connecticut goes, they've always had the pieces. They've always had kind of the players, but they just come up short in the semifinals. So I think they're kind of just out to prove that, we're a force to be reckoned with. The last couple of years didn't go our way, but we're here to kind of change that narrative. So it's going to be very interesting. I can see both series going at least 4 to 5 games. But I still ultimately think the Aces will come out, and I think Chicago will too. So maybe I'll be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Aces are having a great season. They seem like they have great fan support. And then you look at what's going on with the with Chicago and Candace Parker being there, and it's like everybody's thinking. I just hear comments like, "What were the Sparks thinking? What were the Sparks thinking?" That's all I like hear. You don't just
her
get rid of a
stat
player.
line was ridiculous, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Something like 18 points, 14 rebounds. Like,
Yeah,
she's incredible. It's hard to imagine letting a player like that walk, but I mean, things happen in the front office. She was benched by Derek Fisher, which he played for the Sparks, which I think kind of just ended their relationship. But it's kind of nasty that Candace had that crazy stat line and they didn't win, because it's like, wow,
Yeah, no doubt. And
I saw the first half of the Seattle game, and they used to play with a lot of energy. It seemed like they couldn't even miss, and like Aces were like, whoa, like just trying to like kill some of the run, the energy. But Seattle really came out strong. I was like, oh yeah, because they hadn't played. Actually, I was trying to watch some of it, and I was like, oh wow, like the playoff basketball, like they got real physical, but like Seattle was just coming at it hard.
Super intense. And I think we talked a little bit about what WNBA before, like this is the time to watch. This is the highest level, games that you're going to see. In my personal opinion, Seattle has Breanna Stewart, who's the best player in the league. I do think that Asia Wilson will probably get league MVP this year, just because she was exceptional doing it on both ends. But when you have Breanna Stewart, it really doesn't matter what seed you come in, you're going to have a chance because you have her. And, Seattle just has the veteran. They've just been there. Aces have not won a championship. Seattle, has a couple. They have people that have been doing it and have all that experience. And I think that you just can't, deny that when it comes to these moments and, playing in a hostile environment like they did in the Aces Michelob Ultra Arena. A lot of fans there. It's always loud. It's always packed, and it's always crazy. But I think Seattle has the temperament to do it because they've already done it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and they announced some of the awards for the end of the season, right? And I saw one because she was a Puma athlete, the most improved player, and I saw her kind of like her advertorial. So that was great to see, because obviously this Pangos All-American Festival we're talking about is sponsored by Puma, and I didn't even know. When I went, I didn't really know Puma had a basketball performance shoe. I know they have San Malo, but like when I think of Puma, I was telling Ani offline, I think of like hip hop, like B-boy, a Kango hat, sweatsuit, and maybe some cool like shoes that you walk around in, like comfort shoes, But I didn't realize that they had a whole like a line that people playing, So that's good to see. And I see Chelsea, talk a little bit about our girl, Rebekah Gardner, as a rookie. She's made the all-rookie team. Is there 10 girls selected or 5?
No, it's actually 5. But real quick, just to piggyback off what you said. So Jackie Young was the WNBA's most improved player this year. She is a Puma signee. And Puma actually has totally like kind of flipped the switch. I think it's kind of started with LaMelo now that he is the face of the brand. But on the women's side, they have Breanna Stewart, they have Skylar Diggins, they have a lot of high profile women's players that are kind of repping Puma now. So it's just great. And pretty soon Breanna Stewart is set to have her own shoe. So you'll see that kind of in the near future. But they have a lot of athletes and they're on the up and up. So I think you'll be surprised to see what they do on the women's side coming up here in the next couple of years or so. But as far as all rookie team goes, my good friend, Rebekah Gardner, I was teasing Ronnie that I think she set the Guinness Book of World Records as the oldest WNBA rookie to ever be selected for the all rookie team. Beck just turned 32, a good friend of mine, UCLA alum, just fought her way into the league, man. She's been playing at a very high level overseas for the last 10 seasons.
Wow.
Played in EuroLeague, played in Euro Cup, played in Israel with me as teammates. That's when we really became close, about maybe 6 years ago. And this year she was just in a fortunate situation where she was playing in Spain, playing in EuroLeague, and she's lining up pretty frequently with Kalia Copper, who's probably Chicago's best player if you don't count Candace. She was finals MVP when they won the championship last year, and she was playing in Spain. So Rebekah was discovered because she was matching up with Kalia Copper quite often. They both have similar playing styles, lanky, tall, skinny frames, but super athletic, very defensive, very versatile on offense as well. And, kind of James Wade was just out there watching Kalia Copper a few times, and he discovered Rebekah and was like, yo, like, this girl's good. She's ready.
Wow.
And, she came to the WNBA, and it was crazy how it happened because she didn't actually go through training camp. He believed in her that much from just seeing her so many times live that she didn't even make it back in training camp. She was still playing in Spain, but he basically said, hey, I'm putting this girl on the team because I've seen enough. And she just came and she just really just hit the ground running. Was a total asset to Chicago from start to finish. Just her defense is tenacious and tremendous. I really like when James Wade puts Rebekah on one wing and Kalia Copper on the other wing, and it's just hell to pay to just have two super freakish athletic guards, kind of running up and down and being disruptive on defense. So she made the all-rookie team, which I believe is a record. I can't really quote that for sure, but it's got to be. I mean, she's 32. And the rest of the all-rookie team rounded out with actually true rookies in terms of age. Ryan Howard, who was the rookie of the year, she kind of led the team. Then it was Nalissa Smith, who played for the Indiana Fever. They didn't do well collectively as a team, but Nalissa, she's a monster. I think a lot of people will, get to see her in the coming years as probably going to be one of the premier players in the league later on down the line. Shakira Austin, who is a post player for the Washington Mystics. She was very, very good this year. I think, being on a veteran team, you don't always get to see what everybody can do because, she's playing with Deladon and Alicia Clark and Natasha Cloud, just some very good players. But she was absolutely incredible and kind of rounded out the team as well. So the WNBA is in good hands, man. I don't know if Rebekah is going to do 10 more years in the league, but she'll do at least 3. And my girl's killing it. So I just want to shout her out. I'm super proud of her.
Oh, yeah. The reason I thought about it, I seen Rebekah a lot in high school at Chino Hills a lot, Ayala and her younger sister, Rima, at the time. So I'd always known their names and followed them a bit, but I figured they may play pro ball. I knew they were good. I didn't know if they both played. But when I started seeing more of her posts and I saw you went to her game and I said, Rebekah's in the league, huh? That's interesting. I know, I kind of know how, old she is. And I was like, okay, maybe I just never paid attention to her before on the bench or something, but she's a 32-year-old rookie. That's just so awesome.
Yeah.
Once in a lifetime type story.
For sure.
Ani, let's switch gears here. And it's funny because we had one of our followers who watches this show a lot, and he was like, when is the next show? Yeah. And I was like, well, we're waiting on Chelsea. She's going across the world. We got to find her. And he's like, yeah, because I thought about her when Chet Holmgren got injured, what she said about being very cautious of playing. When am I going to play in the Pro-Am? I don't think I'm going to play. My father told me, hey, you might want to sit it out, just get ready for the season. So, with Chet, what was your first reaction on it? Obviously, it was in the Pro-Am up at Jamal Crawford's crossover league. So what did you think? What do you think going forward, and what are the Thunder going to do?
He was really ambitious, just in that play, just trying to get the block. But they talked about the course being slippery early. There's a lot. It was a whole lot of people, so you can tell the course we're going to get like that. People like, the NBA players shouldn't play in Pro-Ams, and I get that. But the thing about Chet, it was a durability thing anyways. Even though this is his first major injury, it was always going to be a durability thing, especially his rookie year as they're trying to add to him. I just think NBA players got to be careful. Like, if you're going to play out there, there's just some plays you just let go, right? Work on some of the stuff that you need to work on, but you don't have to go that hard. I feel like it was just it was like a freak thing almost, sure. But you just got to be careful. I think he learned that the hard way. But if you're Oklahoma, you're in a decent place because I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team anyways. At best they're probably a fringe playoff team. Very clicks like with him, Poku, Shea, Josh, Giddey. But now you're in a situation where you're back in the lottery. Or you may be a top 3 pick. So you're in a situation next NBA draft where you could bring in a Scoot or a Victor or, maybe one of the Thompson twins or Nick Smith, some guys that are ranked that high early. So if you're Oklahoma, it's not the end of the world. He ain't the first rookie
correct
pick that's been hurt. Ben Simmons missed out the whole season, Joel Embiid, so it ain't the end of the world. It just, now they're in position where they can get another top 3 pick. So, it'd be very interesting to see if it becomes a Victor and Chet front court. What does that look like? So it's just one of those things. You're an NBA player and you're going to pro, and just be careful.
Yeah. Chelsea, what did you think? And, obviously we just talked about that on one of the In the Paint episodes prior, and it can happen anywhere, obviously it can happen anywhere. And I know the NBA is going to, in his contract for Chet, he had obviously in one of the bylines, it's like he has certain places he can play, and Jamal Crawford's pro-am was one of the places he can play. So he's not, he didn't breach his contract or anything like that.
Yeah. Like you said, he was cleared to play. Yeah. I think when you're young, like, you just kind of want to hoop, and, it's one of those situations that it's absolutely unfortunate, and it could have happened anywhere. Sure. I have my personal reasons why I don't do certain things, but I also don't have $1 million contracts, and I'm also not insured when I'm playing in the pro-am. So it's a little bit different situation. Like, I don't feel anything but a little bit of remorse that, he was very excited about his, upcoming, rookie season, and it was kind of a little bit delayed for him. Sure. But I think being those guys in those situations, for the most part, I think the NBA guys are pretty smart. They're aware of what's happening. A lot of those games are kind of controlled to a certain extent, and you're playing with other professionals, which I'm all for. If I'm going to personally play in a pro-am, I need to know who's playing, that somebody's not going to kind of take me out. But just my personal, situation is when I'm playing in the summers, I'm not insured. So I make significantly less money. And if I get hurt, I still don't get my NBA check like Chet will this season. So It's definitely a little bit different. And I just remember being that age. When I was that age, I kind of played in everything as well. If there's pickup games or pro-ams, then I'm all for it. Now I'm just kind of at a different point in my career where I don't have the best body, and I'm all about making as much money as I can. And I don't want to risk any of that money by playing free basketball. So it's a little bit different, but I feel for the kid. I kind of agree with Ani that OKC is going to be fine. He'll rejoin the team in the year. I do have questions just about Chet's durability and body, though. Like, I don't want to kind of make this be a little bigger deal than what it probably is. But, I just think like Yao Ming, like, foot injuries are like terrible. He's tall, he's lanky. Everybody had questions kind of his size. And I just really hope that he's able to bounce back 100% from this. So we can really see how great everybody, believed that Chet would be once he started to kind of, make his way in the league, get a little bit bigger, have a couple years under his belt. So I'm really just hopeful that he's not hindered by this injury long-term, and that it doesn't affect his career.
Yeah. And you're right about foot injuries. You think about that. I usually think about tall guys, and circulation is something I always hear, like with the tall guy, it could be a little different. Wilt Chamberlain was like that. People didn't realize Wilt Chamberlain had some issues that were circulation wise, just based on his size. And later on in life, it affected him. He had just some his lining in his jaw was wrong. He always had some circulation issues. So you wonder about that. Obviously, the guy I always think about, and it's just kind of like it's moved on. Nobody talks about it because he was a great player. Was Grant Hill when he got injured? I mean, people forget when Tracy McGrady and him went to Orlando. It was like, oh my God, this team's going to be so good. They're going to be the team of the 2000s. Those two guys were so awesome. And then Grant Hill hurt his foot, and then he like re-hurt it. Then he got bad advice. It just was like a bad chain of things that happened, and it was like never the same. So, yeah, like you said, you hope it all works out, and it should be fine. Obviously, I think medicine and things like that have team personnel is probably advanced in 20 years, even though it doesn't seem that long ago. It's like probably advanced. They're all probably better. I just think for the programs, they're probably going to have to get a little more serious of like where the fans stand. The amount of cameras on the baseline. I would hate to see like, some young rookie crash into a camera and like, hurt himself or something. Like there's a lot of, in other words, it's kind of ran like a program or ran like a pickup game, but you don't really have pickup players there. You have guys that are As Chelsea said, have guaranteed $1 million contracts. So like, I could see that the programs are not going to stop, but like just maybe being a little more controlled, spending a little bit more money on like logistics, making sure courts are not, condensation, all that stuff. There's just going to be way more awareness of it going forward. I just think that's the only thing. It's going to be spending a little bit more money to get the great players that are going to be playing for free. So, and that's really what it's all about. I think Jamal Crawford made that point, and LeBron made that point, I think, too. It's like, hey, guys, people that want to see kids that they're never going to really get a chance to sit on the front row at an NBA game for a couple $1,000s. And that's really what it's all about. So, yeah, that should be great. And I don't think that's gonna change. Wanted to get your guys' take on something that's kind of along those lines, with people standing on the sidelines and cameras all over the place. And Ani, I think you saw it at the circuit. Kid gets dunked on, especially if it's a small guard and it's a 7-footer. So, and the kids just go crazy. Everybody stops the court. They run on the court. They're doing the little hand gestures, and sometimes you even see coaches jump up. Like, what is that? What's the take? What's your take there? Does that need to stop? Or is kids are kids? They're 15 years old. They're 14 years old. Hey, we didn't have cameras like that when we were kids, so we're jealous. The adults are jealous. Where is the line drawn?
Well, I think you let kids be kids. I mean, if you get to post a dunk, I mean, there's no problem celebrating it. I mean, running on the court and like stopping the game is too much. Yeah. But I do think cameras is very interesting. If you see less cameras at a game, especially like out here, like in like when you're in Dallas, like if there's no cameras, someone gets dunked on, I'm telling you, the celebration is a lot different than when there's a lot of cameras. Sure. So cameras do like someone wants to put on. Yeah. And so, I mean, let kids be kids. Like, you get posted dunk, celebrate a little bit, whatever, keep it moving, but like, don't run onto the court. We shouldn't stop the game because someone got dunked on. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good, like having a reaction, but like because people can't control themselves, that was like, okay, so like I was at a pro-am. Tony Swindle runs a pro-am, and those are more adults, but like someone got dunked on. Like in pro-ams, it made sense because that's kind of the vibe you want to get. But like an actual like scholastic game or a summer ball game, like in Lapeer, like, okay, guys, like. And then usually the type of dudes that are dunking on people, this ain't the first time. So this is not the first time we've all seen someone get dunked on. You know what I mean? So, like, why is the coach running onto the center of the court? Like, a la John Urey,
An assistant coach run on the court. It's like, guys, I seen that too. Like even Bronny had a dunk on TV, and I'm just like, the bench is going more crazier than the kids. I'm like, come on, guys, they're following your lead. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just a funny, more not a funny, but semi-serious thing. But yeah, the running on the court, I don't know how we're going to stop it. Maybe it just will die out, but there's always going to be new ways. Kids are going to invent new ways to celebrate. You know what I mean? If you stop them doing one thing, they're going to find another way. You know what I mean? So it's pretty interesting, but yeah, I just think about the camera. Like you said, the camera changes everything for everything, whether it's a pro-am, a summer league game, a high school game. Everything is affected by human behavior. So, I agree with you on it. Just the running on the court should slow down a bit. And, speaking of slowing down, we got to slow down on some of these things that are happening in like games, just the violence and things like that as well. I don't know where we go with that, but that's just crazy. We've talked about that before. There's no need for us to get too deep into it, but when you hear about a kid getting shot, his father getting shot at a Pop Warner game, it's like, and Ani, it's funny because some of my Texas followers on Facebook, they're like, Ronnie, we know that's a big incident, and it's unfortunate that the man died, the coach. He's like, but we at all these games out here, people are packing. Like, at Pop Warner games, the guys were telling me in Texas, some of my guys that I follow on Facebook, and they're my friends, and there might be our mutual friends, are like, Ronnie, that's not the first time like dudes have a gun, like at games and stuff. And I'm just like, God dang, like it just.
Come to a Pop Warner football game in Dallas, like you got, it's that's different, man. Like
that's just a different world.
You got to be packing. I ain't gonna lie, like it gets that crazy.
But why do you think we've gotten there, Ani? Like, why is it so, dude, it's 9-year-olds, it's 11-year-olds. What are we doing?
I always think everything just comes from everyone looking at the top, right? So when, especially even if you look at like the most fights you'll see in a basketball tournament is middle school. Like I see more fights in middle school and younger boy events than I do in high school. I think when at that age, I think the parents feel like their kid is going to be the next, whoever the top NFL players, whoever the top NBA players, like there's that dream. I think when kids get into high school, get 17, 18 years old, you start, not everyone thinks like that about their son. Reality starts kicking in more, right?
Sure.
I think at that age, I just think everyone's fighting for, they're seeing the top, which is the NBA or the NFL or it's college basketball, and seeing guys make money and this, that, and the third. And I really believe parents are looking at that for their kid now, like at that young age. And I think the second thing is that's their baby. So they're like, if a kid's 8, 9, 10, 11 years old and they see him getting pushed around at a basketball game, or they're seeing them get hurt like in a football game, people react different compared to when they're older, where it's like, okay, are you okay? You good?
Yeah.
Like it's those two things. It's just they look at, they think their kid is going to be the next whatever. Right, what they're watching on TV. And the second thing is they don't like seeing their little boy, get hurt or getting bullied or, feel like they're getting cheated because the kid's older or whatever, whatever the case is. It's just that's what happens.
Wow. I never thought about that because, when I would go to do football camps, we with my old company before I was with ESPN Student Sports, we ran the Nike football training camps. And we ran them with 100% Nike backing and involvement, and nobody even knew we were a company. They obviously thought we were Nike employees because that was what we were trying to portray. Our company was just an event management company. It didn't matter, what we were doing. It was just representing Nike. Everything we did was trying to make them look good because they were our client, and we're a very good client. My old boss Andy Bark was just well connected with them. And you would see it's funny, Anna, you would see there's 14, 15, 16-year-olds, high school kids. And when we do one in Georgia, Texas, whatever, they would usually come with their coach in a van, and it had 15, 12, 15 kids. And they were ready to go. Like you said, not a lot of prayer involvement, not a lot of coddling, that kind of thing. Here in Southern California, at the ones we did at USC, Redondo Beach, it was like, what time does this event start? Where can my son go? Where can I leave his spring water? Does he get lunch? What time is this over? It was just a totally different kind of like parental involvement based on where we were at in the country. You know what I mean? And so I can see what you're saying. The younger they get, they're just so much more involved. Because I was thinking at the time, I was looking at some of them and they were 15, 16. I was like, why are you running to the front of the line for your kid? He's 16, 17. Like, he can handle this. He's a football player. Like, what are we doing here? So it's just like, come on, he'll find the bathroom. We'll get him a water break. Like, he's fine, but it just wasn't that way. Like, just anymore in the deep South. They were just way hungry, ready to go, and that kind of thing. So I can see what you're saying with younger kids. It's a very sensitive thing, but hopefully those things turn around and we don't have any more incidents like that. And obviously we're not going to spend too much time on it, but it's just an unfortunate incident that I wanted to bring up. Let's switch gears here. Ani, you went to the TCU team camp. Tell us a little bit about that. And obviously this is the time that colleges have their team camps and then they're going to get their kids in the fall here soon. School's pretty much starting everywhere around the country.
Right. Yeah. No. So TCU ran their elite camp. I want to say it's the 3rd or 4th year that they've done it. And they usually get the top high major players or top guys just in the state. So we had a good crop of 24s, 25s, and we had a few 26s. So it was really good. I thought there was about probably 12 to 15 potential high major players. Jared Harris, 2024, from Silsbee. John Urey, a kid. Played for Houston Superstars in the summer. He was the best player at the camp. About 6'4", long arms, explosive, can really get the spots, just a natural scorer. I saw him in July and he was really good. I wanted to get a really good look at him against some other high major type players. And he was really good. He was the best player. I think he's a kid that's really contending. You know, Trey Johnson, ESPN put Trey Johnson #1 in the country. And obviously he's #1 in the state. But I think Jared Harris has really creeped on being the second best player in the state of Texas in that class. You know, I think he's a potential top 50 player in the country. I mean, there's a lot of ability and talent. Really uses his length. I think there's some real upside there. And, you know, he'll be interested to see just kind of how he does during the season. There's a kid out of Oklahoma. He's a Pangos kid. He's played in, like, I think the past 2 Pangos All-South camp, Carshawn Young. Ronnie, I don't know if you remember him, 2025 from Oklahoma, about 6'3" combo. You know, very strong lefty, gets his spots, has a high feel for the game, reliable shooter from deep. I thought he was the second best player at the camp. And then you got guys like Nick Cody, who's a 2024, about 6'8" from Newman Smith. He's a kid that's going to be like a late bloomer, but I think he just continues to get better and better by each month. About 6'8", he's like a 4'3", like a tweener. Shoots it well, can put the ball on the floor. Not the strongest of finishers, but he's getting there. You know, just like he's getting more confident each time he plays, and he keeps growing. Like I would say, beginning of summer, he's probably about 6'6". Now he's probably legit 6'8".
Wow.
So he's a kid that would just keep monitoring. And he's fairly young. He's fairly young for his class. In that 24 class in Louisiana, Jeremiah Evans, he was out there, and he just turned 16, I believe. So like he's very, very young for a rising junior. And
that is young.
Yeah, about 6'8", long arms, really runs the floors, running rim to rim and finishing, trying to block shots. There's upside with the shooting. You know, I saw some mid-range jumpers that look clean and were going in. He's a kid I think has like top 75 potential in the country. And just I'll be interested to see what it looks like when he's 18, right? Because he's like a year younger than most people in his class. But there's some real upside there. I think he's going to be a kid that really blossoms either going into this summer or the next year, going to that senior season. But yeah, I mean, it's time you talk about King Grace, 2025 guard from Dallas Hillcrest, and Dallas Hillcrest has like 3 potential high major players in that 25 class. And he was good, just really can score the basketball, uses his strength, just wired to just score the ball at all 3 levels. But, you know, really good competition. It was a good eval, right? Like guys that you think are maybe like high major type prospects, you really see their weaknesses when they go against high major length and athleticism.
Sure.
Some of these guards, you get to see their decision making and see how far behind they are on the decision making, or, you know, how much they've improved. So, you know, that's what I like about elite camps, like really good college elite camps. Like UTA ran one the week before, and it was good. You know, McNeese is out here. I heard they had a really good one. UAPB ran one. So we get a lot of elite camps around here, Corpus Christi. But, you know, the ones that are like, but this TCU one, you saw more of the high major type players. Obviously, it's a high major school. And it was a good evaluation of just seeing where guys are at. You know, these rising juniors, these rising sophomores, and just get a feel for just like what level of player they are. Yeah.
Usually team camps are good in the late summer or even in the early summer, you know. So yeah, that's always a good eval, because it seems serious. Like you're thinking, hey, these coaching staff might offer us a scholarship or look at us for a scholarship in the future. So it's always like a good eval at a team camp. I usually haven't gone to one where it hasn't been pretty good. You know, maybe sometimes they have a high school team camp, meaning at a college campus, that could be like a grassroots level event. But when you have individuals and it's not a lot of guys, how many guys were there, Ani?
I want to say there was 7 teams. So yeah, it was about 72, maybe 72.
Got you. Yeah, that's a small number. So you get a good eval. The coaches get to watch them closely, or the scouts. So Chelsea, tell us a little bit about that, your experience real quick. I know you blew up, you got onto a bigger travel team, but like, how did you get to where you went, where Duke was one of your finalists? Who were your 2 or 3 finalists, and how did they get there for you?
Well, just, you know, off the back, like I was a late bloomer in terms of just hitting the AAU circuit and stuff. I didn't do a lot of camps anywhere. You know, they have a lot of eval camps, you know, for the guys, basically just, you know, ABCD and Pangos and all these different things. Like we didn't really have that when I was playing. So just for me, my dad being very old school. I was playing on a small Vegas team. He was not into, going to Gorman or hopping around and, playing for all these different teams on the circuit. Sometimes you see these kids play for, Vegas Elite one year, then they're on, all these other high caliber teams and kind of bouncing around. So my dad was never into that. I played for a small Vegas team pretty much most of my high school career. And then finally one summer I was able to get on the circuit, play with my best friend who was playing for West Coast Elite, which is a premier girls team on the West Coast, comprised of Vegas, Cali, Texas girls. So they were just on the circuit, joined that team, ended up being a starter. We went to all the high profile tournaments for girls, Nike Nationals, Boo Williams. And that's kind of what changed for me. Like I had, Pepperdine and UC Irvine and UC Riverside caliber schools. And I played 1 year on the circuit, went from unranked to nationally ranked, I think number 7 in my position, maybe number 55, 56 overall. Wow. And I went from those schools to Duke, Texas, Cal, USC, UCLA, pretty much all the Pac-12 schools. Just kind of just blew up. So I ended up taking advantage of all my visits because, I was a late bloomer. I didn't really know anything. I wanted to go on every visit and be wine and dined. So I took all 5 official visits, Duke, Cal, USC, Temple, which was one of my favorites because Dawn Staley was my idol. So I had to go to see her. She was the head coach at Temple at the time. And then I took unofficials to UCLA. It was close by. And I think so. What was that? Duke, Texas, Temple, Cal, and USC. So those were my 5 official visits. UCLA was unofficial. And basically just at the time I wanted to go to Temple. Dawn Staley kind of just rolled out the red carpet for me. I went on my official visit to Temple by myself. Usually they do these official visits in groups of 2 or 3, but I went by myself. USA Basketball was doing a women's training camp at the time. So they were practicing there. I was sitting there courtside watching Tina Thompson and just everybody who was on the USA team at the time work out. I have a ton of pictures with Candace Parker, just a ton of pictures of all the players at the time. Really enjoyed myself, wanted to commit right then and there. I called my mom, Mom, I'm coming to Temple. Dawn's my favorite. She's going to make me great. This is the best. And then my mom was like, no, I won't sleep at night if you're going to school in the hood in Philly. Please do not commit. Come home. Let's talk about it. You still have other visits, blah, blah, blah. So basically wouldn't allow me to commit. And then ultimately, I just knew she wasn't comfortable with me going there. And I ended up going to Duke because I was a total nerd and very studious at the time. I was salutatorian of my high school, so just under valedictorian. And Duke women's program at the time was 3rd in the country. So it was just the best, best combination of basketball and, academics at the time. And that's kind of how I ended up there. So didn't work out due to injuries, but I definitely wouldn't have changed anything besides going to Temple because that's where I wanted to go. And my mom said no. So that's it. That's how it worked for me.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Temple always have a special place in your heart then in underneath, I imagine. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I just wanted to get your take because we talk about how people get to where they are and maybe they can blow up later, go to a team camp and do well. For the event we went to, the Pangos All-American Festival, it's mostly high-level guys, so it ain't. There's nobody that's really gonna blow up that's from nowhere. But there is guys. What I got from a lot of the players and our guest Jeremy Fears is that they really liked it that it was smaller. Like you mentioned, Ani, these 70 guys. It was only 40 guys, maybe even a little less than that, 7 or 8 per team. So there was no question about am I going to play a lot? I came to LA, school started. Am I going to only play 8 minutes? And I came out of here. They all played a lot. So that wasn't a problem. They got a lot of reps. They got some continuity. And then with it being broken up into the a regional format, the guys want to win. They're like, hey, we want to represent our area. We want to win. So that was cool. And coming into the event when I seen that Jeremy was playing with Flory Bidunga, who's on the Indiana Elite 16s. And we talked about him. We talked about his team on a previous episode, how good he is. I was like, that team's probably going to win. Like, because I don't really think the country knows how really good he is. Like in total, I mean, he was on the 3SSB circuit, but it's like this guy could be the number 1 player in the country. Like
100%.
that good. Like he's that good. Not like, oh, he's pretty good. So I just thought they had the strongest team. And even though Xavier Booker didn't play out, wasn't able to go, they were still the strongest team. Ani, do you think Jeremy Fears, like, put you on spot a little bit? Is there a better point guard right now in 23?
Ooh, him and Isaiah Collier.
Yeah,
I mean,
Collier, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, them two, I think, are in the tier of their own.
Yeah,
I would say. And then, you know, which one you want to pick. I mean, I know 24/7 put Isaiah Collier number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
But I really like Jeremy Fears. I've been really impressed with him this summer. He's arguably the best point guard in the country. So I definitely think him and Collier they're in a tier of their own. And which one you want to go ahead, it doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, just me seeing Fears, I would say for me, yes. He is. But
a little more of a true guard, true distributor than Collier's. A stronger, can score.
Yeah, can score. Yeah, and Jeremy just really you know, like you said, just more traditional point. Can affect it with the scoring and passing.
No doubt. I have a question for you, Ani.
Yeah.
You just talked about, you know, going to TCU's team camp and just having the ability to evaluate and stuff like that. Do you think it's a little bit of gift and a curse, though, that we have so much access to these players? Like, I just remember coming up, like, you know, I went from not being ranked to being ranked in one summer. But, you know, maybe I would have been ranked higher if I would have played much longer and everybody would have watched me, or maybe they would have got a better look at me and said, oh, you know, Chelsea is not really like that. So what do you think about just being able to constantly evaluate and see these kids? And do you think it helps them long term, or, you know, can hurt them in a sense? Like, what do you think about that?
I think it can hurt. For me, that's a great question. For me, I have to be selective of when I want to go see guys, right? Like sometimes I'll over-evaluate a player if I see him too much. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to, for me, it's good intel. Like I get a bigger sample size when I see kids a lot. I get to know the kid, I get some real like information, you know what I mean? But like, I think for kids, if you're playing at everything, I think it can't hurt you. You know, I think it can, because for me, I've had to realize now going and doing this 9 years, like, okay, like, you know, there's guys going to have bad games, right? There's guys that are just not going to look good, but it's good to see how dudes handle adversity. You know, I look at things a little bit different compared, you know, I'm not saying I'm just a grace, but like, you know, I look at things, I've had to look at things different when it comes to me watching a kid a lot, right?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think it can hurt the kid if they're playing in every camp, every tournament, because now when he gets to the point the kid can play, then as evaluator, you're looking at what he can't do. And sometimes what he can't do will go away from what the kid can do. Like, let's not forget, like I can see Flory like 25 more times, and I'm gonna start looking at what he can't do. Right. But for me, I always have to remember what makes him special is this, and that.
Yeah.
I think for players, sometimes when you just are you're in these people's faces all the time, you start getting talked about what you can't do, regardless if you're the top player in the country, regardless if you know. Yeah, I just think you gotta be selective. I just think you gotta be smart. Like, not every camp's a good camp to go to. You know, like you don't have to go play in every AAU tournament. Like, you don't have to play the AAU games. You don't have to go to 10 different camps. You know, like, be selective. Go to ones that may make some sense to you, that, you know, you can kind of show out to, you know, all that stuff. I think you just got to be smart.
Yeah, that's good advice.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's funny when you get the different perspective when you get older, right? So I always think it's funny when like NBA players that are a little bit older, probably in their 40s and 50s are now, they're like, oh, I hate AAU ball. And, you know, it's like, boy, you played on AAU.
Right.
Like, that's how certain guys, you know, saw you. It's pretty funny. And obviously you have some guys that are getting recruited through the scholastic ranks. But yeah, almost all of them got recruited the same way. Kind of like Chelsea was mentioned. You play for an AAU team. Maybe you play for a bigger one. You get more opportunities. That's kind of the story of most guys. I don't think now some of them blow up. Like you said, not a lot of them blow up late, like as you did, Chelsea. There's a few famous ones, obviously, but a lot of guys, they go through the ringer of playing for a local team, then they're good, and now they're getting recruited to much teams all the time,
Mhm.
and I think that's what I see at these events. Speaking even the Pangos Festival, CP3 had a camp in LA.
Yeah.
A smaller version was college and high school, elite high school, and then our guy Pooh Jeter, who played in the NBA, and he's the great story of getting to the NBA the way he did, out of the
Mhm.
University of Portland. Is he had an event, and I just think the kids have so much options. Chelsea, they're almost overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they can go to something every weekend. And Ani, we've talked about it, and Chelsea, we've joked around it with you. We can go to something every weekend. There was 3 events in LA this weekend, so it's easy to we have more access to the kids. So if this is 15 years ago, and I was like, oh, I wonder who that girl from Mojave is. She's pretty good, but I didn't catch her name. She's a pretty good point guard. You'd have to wait for the next event or call up to Mojave's high school coach and be like, hey, do you guys have a 5'8" guard that's really good and quick? Now you just find that person online and start DMing them. Hey, where are you at? Where you go to school? Hey, what travel team do you play for? Kids are getting asked to transfer and join other travel teams pretty much every week now.
Yeah,
you got to feel for them a bit. They're getting asked to play in this event. Oh, I can get you an NIL deal. All day long, and it's just they're being bombarded with information, and not all of it's good.
Right.
That's kind of what I got out of this weekend. I was like, dude, everybody's talking about NIL, and I did put a story on ballislife.com about it. Go check it out when you get a chance. They're just being bombarded with information and options, whereas I think some people thought, like you mentioned, Chelsea, 20 years ago we didn't have as many options. Definitely not 30 years ago. Just the elite guys got invited to ABCD camp. There was a few other camps. It was 5-star, and that's it. We moved on. We evaluated them there, and that's basically where they got a reputation. So, yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Ani, real quick before we talk about the Pangos Festival and bring on Jeremy, the new rankings came out. What was your take about it? I always hear all year long, rankings don't matter, the rankings don't matter, the rankings don't matter. And then when the day they come out, all of a sudden they do matter.
ESPN rankings.
Like everybody's rankings.
Yeah, Paul being Cardi messed up some people's days. I was texting. I was texting though with him last night. We kind of just laughing,
going back and forth.
But I thought the rankings were solid. Like I thought it was fine. I mean, I know Paul, he tries to go. ESPN, they try to go see as many guys as they can. Obviously, there are players that I wouldn't put in certain spots, but it's what it is. I mean, I was more amazed by the reaction, and I know it happens every year, but just like the calls, like people like, oh, why was this kid ranked? Like just pissed off, like it just ruined people's days. Just people not seeing their kid in the rankings. I know, ESPN rankings, people do, a lot of high level people do look at those, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I know people know that, so that's why it gets really intense. But it was just amazed by the reactions. Like, I mean, there were people that were just messed up by the rankings. Like they just did not have a good day because, their son was ranked too low, or their guy wasn't ranked. And I'm just like,
yeah,
it is what it is. Like
it's an ever evolving door. The reason I ask is because it seems like mostly in California, people take it in stride. California, cool, okay. But I know you guys are passionate right now in Texas. You just love your ball. I'm looking at it online. I've seen the tweets. I'm seeing the next comment said, "That's a Texas dude. That's a Texas dude. That's a Texas." I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, if it was up to Texas, we would have 20 kids in the national rankings. I mean,
20 out of 100.
Oh yeah, and we would fight like hell for it. We're very passionate. Texas is one thing we have going on right now. Obviously, we have a lot of talent, right? Each year we're going to have anywhere from 50 to 70 Division I players. That's the counting guys that go from JUCO on to Division I. But we got a big exodus, right now, like a players leaving the state and stuff like that. So I think right now we just kind of like when we don't see a kid that's here, that's not ranked on the national side or whatever the case may be, we're like, okay, like, are we going to lose this kid? Is this kid going to go to this school because he feels like the only way he's going to get ranked or get seen is if he goes out out of the state of Texas. You know, like you look at the 23, like I was working on some Texas rankings. Out of the 75, I think about 15 of them are out of the state now. So like we're getting a lot of people leaving the state to go to schools. So I think that you got to look. So it's like right now there's a mixture of that. You know, us thinking we should have a whole bunch of kids in the national rankings. We got a lot of talent, but I mean, let's be realistic. We can't have 14 kids in the national ranking.
Yeah,
top 100. That's nuts. But yeah, I mean, we're very passionate. I love it here. I love it here, but
we know, Ani.
but it's a different animal. You know, Ronnie been here, so you know the craziness. It's different. Like even TCU camp, you got Adidas, Nike people, like you got everyone just roaming the courts. You know, it's different, but I love
vouching for their guys.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because the way I look at it is the one problem I would say, or the one thing I see, the way I look at it is in California, like you said, most populous state. So when I do my Cal High Sports Top 100, which we've done for many years, and it's like, okay, there's probably should be 10 guys in there, right? 10%.
Right.
And it's like some years there might be 12, some years 9 and 8. The only problem I see with the rankings now is we're not telling people or giving a perspective how good the class is.
Yeah.
So, like, in some classes, you would have Jabari, Smith, Chet, Holmgren, and Paolo, like those 3 guys. So those 3 guys, one of those guys would be number 1 easily in another class, like 223. I just go out, put it. Any one of those 3 would be number 1 in 223 easily. You know what I mean? So in some years, you have, you know, guys that would be much lower or much higher. And in Chelsea, I think about your year all the time. In that year's 07, 08. So 07 was an awesome class, Ani, like deep, awesome. There was 40 guys that could have been McDonald's All-Americans, and it was just a great class at that time. You know, some of them did okay, some of them did. Aaron Gordon, OJ Mayo, Kevin Love. Yeah, I could go on, but Xavier Henry was a really good young player. Like, oh my God, good young in 9th grade. He went to Nike camp and everything. But when he got to senior year, everybody's like, well, he can be a game changer. And I was like, guys, he's top 3 in this class. In 07, he wouldn't be in the top 12 because they didn't. Every class is different. That was my point. But we're treating him like a top 3 player or like a, you know, but I just didn't think he was that good. Nothing against him. He's a good player, but he wasn't Derrick Rose, OJ Mayo, and Aaron Gordon and Kevin Love. He just wasn't. But again, so we don't give it no perspective of how good the class is, or is that a great class, a bad class? So, I mean, I'd go on record and say this 223 class needs some work.
Oh, yeah, wondrous.
Top to bottom, they need work. You know, and I'll just say that. Hopefully, some of them are listening. Their coaches are listening. Like, you guys are not there yet. Almost hardly anybody's not to that level. Like I'm saying, Aaron Gordon and Derrick Rose, they're not. You know what I mean? So I think that needs a little bit more better perspective when we put out the rankings, whether it's ESPN 247 on either one. Me and you do. We need to give people more of a perspective of how good they are, because there always seems to be the same amount of 5 stars, the same amount of 4 stars when it shouldn't be. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because even if you look at, no offense, 23 class, you look at those guys at the top 3 and you put them in 22, like they may not be top 10 guys. You know, like that's what you're looking at. So I agree with you. Like, classes like the 24 class is just okay, but we know the 25 class is looking very, very strong. Like, we have to look at it class by class. You know, the from 22 class, and you look at 23, it's night and day. The reality of it. So I'm in agreement with you on that.
Yeah. So, and we go to the Pangos Festival. It was a great event. The Midwest won as expected, with Jeremy Fears and our guy Flory Bidunga as the co-MVPs. Brooklyn Hicks from Timberline, Lacey Washington was on that team. He really stepped up. Gary Duval, Ani, he's from Carmel, Indiana, but now he's out of Julius V. He's going to Providence. Dude, he really stepped up. He's really good.
He was in Houston in middle school.
Okay, he's from Houston, or he was living there?
Yeah, he was living there for like 2 years. So
very quiet kid. Very nice. I go, hey, well, how did you pick Providence? And he was like, you know, they've been on me the most. I felt comfortable. I mean, he's a great pickup for Providence. I mean, I can't imagine there's a better perimeter defender in the country. I mean, he's picking guys like a middle school game. Like the guys are not scholarship players. He's just picking their pockets. So I'm like, wow. So he did a really good job. The Midwest beat the South in the championship game. The South did a good job. Mercy Miller made the all-tournament team. Obviously, Masterpiece son. We've talked about him before. He's now out in California. Not to be confused with Victorious Miller. I think everybody knows his cousin a little bit more. But Mercy's a really good prospect.
Yes.
Ani. He's turning into a really good prospect. He had 2 30-point games, 31-32. Kept his team in it. They won the first round game, and they lost the second round game in the championship to the Midwest. It was just a little too strong, but he did really well. You know, he's coming on very good. Your guy Garrick Norman from Richland Hills, Birdville, or 3D Empire, he's going to Michigan State where he's joining Jeremy Fears, and Xavier Booker was able to go in. So Michigan State already has a really good class. I know Jeremy talked a little bit about that, and he was trying to recruit some guys, you know, to join him at Michigan State, and he went there, you know, committed early and felt comfortable. So you know, let's see if we could bring on Jeremy now on the In the Paint show, and we'll get his take on the event. He was able to jump on. We're glad he was able to. He had a long flight, and he was a little winded, but he was able to join us. Let me see if we can get him on now, guys. Of Joliet West in Illinois, joining us after getting home from the Pangos All-American Festival. Jeremy, how's it going? Did you get any rest, man? Are you rested up?
I got a little rest. You know, it was a long flight. It was 4 hours. You know, then I ended up getting home at like 12 at night, and then had school. Had to be back up at like 6, 7. So I got a little rest. It was good.
Good. Did you get a full workout for practice, or what are you guys doing right now for the basketball team? Or is it just kind of like after school you working out and doing some weights, or are you guys just getting in the groove of things?
We really can't coach. There's no real practices, but it's a lot of, you know, after school workouts, lifts, you know, kind of on our own and, you know, with each other, can build a chemistry.
Sure. Trying to get everybody together. So at the Pangos Festival, you kind of talked about the competition there and being locked in because their groups were small. Many of the teams only had 7 or 8 players. Tell us a little bit more of that and how it helped elevate you and your teammates' game. Talk us a little bit more about that, what that meant and what that did for you guys.
It was really good, you know, just being able to bring like less amount of people, and it was treated like a game-like scenario. It was not many subs, you know, everybody was able to kind of get a lot of minutes, being able to play a lot, not really worried about coming in and coming out because everybody's playing. It's a good number of people, maybe like 8, 9. Everybody's playing, being able to get in the groove, and just having fun and competing. That was really big.
Yeah, Jeremy, you know, your team was real talented. It was really loaded. And you came out there in the summer on a winning note. Tell me how important that was for you to come out and then the summer on a winning note, your team win the whole thing. And, you know, after you came back from USA Basketball, where y'all won gold.
It was big. Just showing like winning is a big part of me, just something I care about. That's really the main goal. Is no matter how or what I got to do to get the win, that's the type of person I am going to get the win. But just ending on a winning note is just great because you feel like a winner. You won a lot. You won the big things, being able to win the Midwest versus South, East, you know, just kind of some bragging rights to show, you know, the Midwest is the best. But that was good.
Yeah, so who impressed you on your team that you never really got to play with? You never played with much before?
Definitely Flory, because that was my first time ever seeing him play actually live. Wow. He ended up playing like our Indy Heat team before, but I never seen him play live. So that was really big to see him play live and for him to be able to do what he did. He's a monster.
Yeah, no, he is. He's blown up this summer. Like my first time seeing him in June, I was like, man, who is this kid? You know what I mean? Like I was just like, who in the hell is this kid? But he's a beast. Who on the other teams that just impressed you that you never really got to see before?
Definitely Brooklyn Hicks. I remember playing him. He was on my team, but I also remember playing him versus he played with Seattle Rotary, but I really didn't mind him. But being able to see him play on my team and see what he can do, he's nice. And also Gregory Norman. Yeah. He going to Michigan State with me. That's my 2 guard. But that was my first time actually seeing him being able to play live. Sneaky, athletic, defend, can shoot the ball. He does it all. I can't wait to play with him next year.
Yeah. Garrick, he's from Dallas, where I'm based at, and yeah, he's a bucket.
He does everything.
Yeah, like he said, sneaky athletic. He'll dunk on your head quick.
Oh, you wouldn't expect it either. You just see him go up, and you're like, oh,
right.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jeremy. Yeah, I know you're getting your Michigan State guys together, and you like to see them do well. Flory, did you think that he can get off the floor that quick and defend and like block? He's blocking dudes' jumpers. Like, did you think he can move that one when you first saw him warming up, or did he just like, whoa, this guy turned it on, bro? And he's in the game. It's like he's just like you said, a monster.
I seen some highlights because he's right in the Indianapolis area, so it's not too far. But I did see some highlights of him. But seeing the highlights and in live is two different. Everything is just totally different. But he runs the floor. He plays hard every possession. He's just a monster. You know.
No doubt. Let's switch gears a minute. Talk about USA basketball. You mentioned, you have a lot of experience in that. And you mentioned that it was 16U with FIBA America is a great experience, and you guys came back and won the 17U World Cup. What was the main difference between those squads, and maybe what was the main difference between any either competitive level or anything different about the actual game and the tournament between the two?
I'll definitely say 16U Americans was good. We also were really young, and you can kind of get away with things that you couldn't get away with, I'll say 17U World Cup. In 16, it was good competition, but mainly like the Final Four championship game and the 17U World Cup, every team was good. So if you didn't come and you didn't play your best, it was a chance that you could lose. 16 was you can kind of breeze through and, walk through and get a win. 17, you had to play and be locked in the whole game no matter who you were playing.
Right.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. What did you like most about Mexico and Spain? Anything that's memorable, and what did those experiences teach you that's going to help you going forward with your game?
Spain was good, but it was kind of bad at the same time also because it was during COVID. So you really didn't get to, visit or see a lot of things. But in Spain, we were definitely in Magala, I believe. We were in Magala. And we got to visit. We had a beach right outside the back.
Wow.
It was cool. It was like a resort. It was a great hotel. We got to walk, kind of like the streets of Spain a little bit, meet people, talk to other teams. It was just a great experience that was also on and off the basketball court.
Great. And then what did you learn on the court? How are those experiences going to help you going forward on the court?
Oh, definitely. I came off the bench, but I was kind of like one of the energy players off the bench. So just being able to play, it's a difference from starting the game and coming off the bench, just being able to adjust and, bring the energy no matter what's happening, what's going on.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's switch gears a little bit, go to school, the Scholastic. After your sophomore year, you went to La Lumiere. Just talk about, playing, away from home. What was that experience like? What was that adjustment like?
Playing away from home, definitely my sophomore year and my junior year, just playing in NIBC was crazy. Just because the competition, you playing future pros. Some of the players I played my sophomore year are now currently in the NBA. But just being able to play that competition, and there's so much bigger, stronger, different level, high level players. That's just good for my development and where I need to go.
Yeah, you talk about like the NIBC and how it helped grow your game. What aspect, like for the viewers, like what parts of your game really grew up, playing in NIBC?
I definitely say every part of my game, shooting, defending, playmaking. It's just all growing because, so much I can learn every aspect, such as all around. It's just learn from different players and different teams. Because, some teams got McDonald's All-Americans 1 through 5, 1 through 3. So I can just take parts from everybody's game.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is the size and everybody's talent level. When you decided to come back home to Joliet West to play with your young bro, Jeremiah, you made that decision. Was that really the main reason, the only reason, or was there other reasons that you wanted to get back home?
Oh, no, that was definitely one of the main reasons. But also, I've been away from my family for 2 years. And, just to enjoy my senior year and trying to win a state championship. Also, that was one of the main reasons. And, just to be home, being able to, I think, develop my game and be around the people that I love and think that can help me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, it's going to be a little different atmosphere, and it's going to be lit atmosphere. You guys are going to have a lot of fun playing with your brother. But besides that, what are some of your other goals, and what aspect of the game do you really want to improve on?
Definitely, shooting, most importantly, off the dribble shots, defending, playmaking, athleticism, just all around. And some of my goals definitely is to try to win Gatorade Player of the Year, Mr. Basketball,
Sure.
and definitely win a state championship.
Gotcha.
So, the senior year, now you pulled the trigger on going to Michigan State, right?
Yes,
Talk about just, going on your official visits, just the relationship you build with coaches. So what gave you the confidence to choose Michigan State?
Just the way, he communicates. His communication is key. He shows that, it's a family atmosphere, family culture. He just always wants everything to be together. And he calls, he talks to me a lot. We text, I talk to him a lot. Just already building a bond, a relationship that's somebody I can trust going into next year and some place I can call home.
Your boy Xavier Booker, he couldn't make the festival, but he's someone that just talk about relationship, him tend to be going there, just talk about all that.
Oh, it was definitely big. Once I was the first commit and, I talked to the coaches a lot, Coach Wilder, Coach Montgomery, they called me and it was like, we really want this kid Booker. So, they also recruiting him, but it's like, if I can help, I'm going to try to help. So I started reaching out to him, calling him, getting really close with him to try to build a bond just in case if he did come to Michigan State, which he did, we can already kind of have some chemistry and a bond.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like y'all really make that class really, really strong, Michigan State. Where stylistically, do you feel like you can just bring to the table year one?
You said, what do I feel that I can bring to the table year one?
Definitely
playmaking, leading, defense, shot making ability, running the team, just being an energy player when the energy is down, confidence, just helping everybody, whether I'm on or off the court, just helping.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you guys have guys at every position and you guys could build that chemistry and you want to be a leader. So let's talk about that a little bit. You got your brother, obviously you're going to lead the team as a senior. And what does your brother bring to the table? Speaking of Joliet West, what does he bring? How good can you guys be? I know you want to win state and you got some individual goals, but how good can you guys be as a team?
I definitely think we're top 3 in the state. Jeremiah, he's growing. He's 6'1", almost 6'2". He can shoot from NBA range, play make, pass. He does everything. He's getting athletic. But right now, I really want to help him, because I know and I played on a national level. Just help him and teach him certain things that I know and take from my game that can help into him. But he's definitely a top 25 player in the country. But, soon people will know he kind of played independent, but he also plays 17U. So next year, I think he's going to have a really big year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and good. And hopefully he does after you guys have your high school season. I know you want to finish strong and have a good season there. Now, you talked a little bit about, leadership and recruiting Xavier a bit, helping the coaching staff out at Michigan State. But you also kind of describe yourself as kind of quiet. You don't mind being alone, maybe chilling on your own. I saw you chilling on your own a little bit at the end of the festival. But, when you think about that, now that NIL has been introduced, have you thought about any plans to grow your brand and maybe what kind of skill set do you think you have or make people want to invest in you or want to do business with you? Have you thought about that at all?
Not really, a little bit, but I'm also kind of a people person. Sure. It's just, I rather I like my alone time sometimes. So it don't mind if I'm talking to people or if I'm doing my own thing. But I definitely enjoy company, enjoy people.
Sure. So
you just gotta have your own time.
Yeah.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, that makes sense. So besides your skill development and your schoolwork, what other some of the things you're looking forward to learning about in college, and then maybe it could help your financial situation too. What do you see out there that you might, on a personal level, enjoy or that you may want to learn a little bit more about?
Just getting really used to college. The college lifestyle, the college atmosphere, just everything will be so much different from high school. So just getting ready to take that step into the next chapter, next level, That's really going to be big. Just being able to handle myself as a pro, which the college players are, a professional. So just being more mature and getting ready to lock in and being able to focus and doing what I need to do no matter what.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm sure the coaching staff loves that attitude that you want to be locked in, ready for the team, and not worried about chasing Instagram, NIL and things like that. So I know that's an attitude you want to bring, and I know Michigan State has that attitude. So we appreciate you jumping on the In the Paint show. Looking forward to seeing you in your senior year. I know you want to, like you said, win those individual awards, and I'm sure Jeremiah's going to have a big season too, and I hope maybe one day he can jump on as well.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
I appreciate you, man.
See you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.
Wow. Jeremy said a lot of great things. Just kind of to piggyback off of what we talked about previously, man, the opportunities for these kids are like absolutely tremendous. He talked about playing USA basketball, going to Spain. He talked about how he came off the bench actually there. So, I'm really just listening to the things that he's saying and just how well this kid just understands his role, how he has the ability to, go through adverse situations and still be successful. I really liked when he said that, what he's bringing to Michigan State is leadership. Like, you don't really hear a lot of kids, kind of hone in on that being what they can provide the most. So just listening to him speak, obviously he's a point guard. And he's a tremendous player. But I think that he's going to be well equipped for anything that Tom Izzo throws his way. And I just see him being able to come into college and just kind of hit the ground running based off of, where his mindset is at and the things that he's been through already. The leadership thing was my absolute favorite comment that he made. But just talking about Tom Izzo, just having a relationship with him and how that was important. Some kids, the most important thing to them is how much money I can get, how high profile a school I'm going to and how I can get to the NBA. But he's taking the progression as it comes and just, kind of conquering what's in front of him. And, going to Michigan State, he feels like he's going to bring his leadership. He's going to develop as a player. He's going to be in a family environment, which is going to allow him to be most successful. And I just really appreciate that. I haven't got a chance to really see this kid, but I'm definitely going to pay more attention now, him being a point guard. And just, I really liked a lot of the things that he said. And I just wish him the best of luck. Yeah.
That couple things definitely caught my eye because I was trying to get him to open up a little bit, to joke and maybe be like, hey, what are you going to do for your NIL? Are you going to grow your brand? How's your Instagram? And he was like, no, I'm concentrating on this year. I'm going to go in there, like you said, provide leadership, try to get the team together. I'm close to Xavier. I'm glad, Gehrig is joining us, as a wing. So he wants to lead the group. And like you said, his mindset is not distracted. Because like I said earlier before the interview, I'm glad that Jeremy got to jump on because he's in school and we had to get him pre-recorded. And I appreciate him taking the time out. Was that like some of the guys are so distracted by what's going off the court. And it's easy to get distracted. We kind of mentioned that. We've talked about NIL before. We've talked about the distractions. Like he seems pretty locked in. What do you think, Ani? Do you think like that? What did you take when talking to him? And like I said, like Chet said, seems like he's a quiet leader, but he does lets a lot of his play do the talking, and still he gets his point across, even though he's kind of quiet.
Yeah, no. Some intel I was getting about him, just seeing him play, was that he's just about basketball. He's just about ball. He's not worried about the other stuff. And you can see like he leads by his play, but if he does see something, he will say something. He knows how to still communicate with his guys and lead. But just always heard he's just about basketball. The other stuff, it just will come, but he's just about ball. So, just to hear him say those things, now just to hear him just talk and say some of these stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, this matches what I've been hearing, what I've been saying.
No doubt. Yeah, he was definitely kind of a little quiet, but I mean, he was pretty fiery and confident on the court. Like I said, they had a good team, and like with Flory, he said it too. Like it's the same thing our guy Travis said a couple episodes ago. Like when you see Flory, you're like, oh my god, like yeah, he's that good. So Travis kind of had that reaction, and I think Jeremy did too. Like man, seeing him in person is really good. So they were the favorites, and they did win. Like I said, the South came in second place. They lost in the championship game. Third place went to the West team, and then the East team, went 0-2. And the East team, it's funny, is you got in the first one with Jabari and Tai, that was the South. And then Jackson Kohler led the West to the second one. He had a monster 53-point game, 21 points. That was a great. He's going to Michigan State, so he might be there with Jeremy and those guys next year. And then the Midwest won this one. So hopefully the East gets off the schneid next year. The East is the only team that hasn't won yet. So maybe they're going to have a little bit more fire. But I'll just run down the all-tournament team and some of the guys I thought were good who weren't all-tournament. It was a 10-man all-tournament team. Flory, co-MVP with Jeremy Fears. I think our guy Gary Duwal was right there. He could have been in the running. He did really well. Drew Felder, who I think is the player that helped himself the most from a national perspective. He also plays for Julius V, Southern California Elite. I thought he was good, Ani, where I've seen him before, so it wasn't that surprising. But like some people, he turned heads with them as far as like his play. We'll go to the South, which was the second place team. They had 3 guys make it. Jaden Hastings, a really good shot blocker. He did really well. Jaden is from IMG Academy. Sam Walters going to Alabama Village Schools in Florida, 6'8", 223, a lefty shooter. He did really well. He was on the all-tournament team. And then, of course, we mentioned Mercy Miller, now out in California, headed to the University of Houston, Ani, so I know you like him. Mercy's 224, though he still's got 2 more years of high school. And he's coming on. People are like, oh, Mercy. Some people are like, oh, Mercy's here because of Master P. Dinos is in Master P are kicking it. They're hanging out. And then you're like, no, that's not true. Like, Mercy just he was putting it in the hole. Like, again, he averaged 31.5 points in the 2 games. I guess he had 32 and 31. So he's deserving on the all-tournament team. The West had 2 selections in 3rd place. Mookie Cook, who has played LeBron in a movie. I think that's what a lot of people know him for so far. But he's a really good player, and he had a really good showing. I like what Mookie was able to do for the West team out of Arizona Compass. He's going to Oregon. And the other pick was True Washington, Ty's uncle.
Yeah.
And True's a left-hand downhill player, can score, takes no prisoners. He's not really into making a lot of friends. He's not into
he get after it.
Yeah, he's gonna get after it. That's his thing. And then rounding out the all-tournament team with the East had 1 selection was Tyler Johnson from St. Benedict's Prep in New Jersey. Slasher type of player, a good playmaker. He did a lot of good things. I was impressed by him. A couple guys who I would have in that mix who were right there, I thought could have, obviously there's only 35 guys, so we just went 10 guys on the all-tournament team. I think Jalil Batia is the guy everybody was like, wow, he's really good. 224 from Archbishop Wood. Did really well, athletic, a point guard who can do a lot of good things. And Dylan Harper on the East. Again, the East went 0-2, so Dylan's from St. John, Don Bosco Prep in Ramsey, New Jersey, 6'5". He's another 224. So I thought those guys as 224 guys were 2 guys that I thought did really well. And Wesley Yates, Yanni, he had 1 good game and 1 game that he didn't play as well. So he was right there. But I think those are about the 13 or 14 guys that were really good. And like I said, they a couple of those guys, because Ely made the all-tournament team. It's just that we went with 4, 3, 2, and 1 as far as picking the all-tournament and keeping it to 10.
And Dylan Harper is Ron's youngest son, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and obviously, like you said, Don Bosco Prep, 6'5". He's a rangy lefty. He knows the game. Is strong. He did really well. Obviously, that's almost all the guys. Really, there's only 30-some guys.
Right.
Like Jeremy said, like
the name half.
Yeah, we were talking about half, and like, it was really good because they got a lot of playing time. They weren't really worried about 5 in, 5 out. There was none of that. It was like 1 guy sub in, try to win the game, and they were locked in. And it was no surprise that the West won.
Right.
So it was a really good event. It's kind of a spinoff. Dinos was thinking about, like, Ani with the fresh soft camps that hey, let's bring together the top 10 guys from each of the 4 camps, and then he was like, you know what, with COVID and everything, let's just do it with the top guys. And that's how he invited that first group in Phoenix, because he was thinking of doing it for the fresh soft camps. Then COVID hit, but he liked the concept. I think the players like the concept. Jeremy mentioned it, like with 7 or 8 guys, we can get to play more. It's worth our time. We play hard. We're trying to win. So overall, it was a good event. So yeah, what else is going on, you guys? We're going to close up here. This has been pretty informative. Chelsea, you got practice, got some things coming up. Ani, what's next on your plate? So out there.
Just fall league stuff, out here. Just go to some fall league tournaments. Then Border League comes up in October. Get on that, do more traveling, especially when October hits. But a lot of fall league stuff. Go to college practices. I'm going to make my rounds this month. Go to University of Houston, go to Auburn, go to Texas. Just hit more just college practices. And but yeah, it's kind of like just bunch of fall leagues, college practices, and get ready for like the October stuff when they start doing like tournaments, like preseason tournaments. They get a little bit more intense before the season starts.
No doubt.
How about you?
For me, I appreciate all the people listening in, and I appreciate the coaches hitting me up. I'm getting the Fab 50 together. We're gonna have a Fab 50 show. Don't hold me to it, but I think it's gonna be November 3rd. We're gonna have it live, kind of like we did the draft show. We'll bring some guests on, hopefully a player, definitely a couple coaches, and maybe even some past guys whose teams were awesome, that were either the champions or highly ranked. Hear what they have to say now, that the perspective of them being out of high school. They've been out of high school for a while. So we're going to do that. So mark your calendars. Should be November 3rd. Again, we got to build to there. Ani, I can't really even get started. The guys are still transferring all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Musical chairs.
The transfer thing's just worse. Before, back in the days, it's like, okay, who's going to Oak Hill? That's all I had to worry about. Who's going to Oak Hill and maybe another school, and I could start piecing it together. No, that's not the case no more.
No.
The guys are just all over. And so, Chelsea, this is a 4-week deal. And then are you going to come back to the States, and then, you're going to go to Israel for year 10? Is that how that's going to work?
Yes. So 30 days here. I'm staying in a really nice hotel, like off the beach, like on the water. So it's like a little, a little warm up for me, a little mini bag before I get to the real season.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to come home for like 4 or 5 days. Then I'm off to Israel for 7 months. So I'll be on the move, but I'll bring my mic and my computer with me. So I'll be tapped in with you guys. And I'm excited, man. Year 10. I think this might be the end. So hopefully I can go out with a bang and see what happens.
I told her, Ronnie, I'm going to start a campaign to do 1 more year campaign. Year 11. We want to get year 11.
have a sign. I'm gonna have a sign each show, just like 1 more year.
Yeah. But yeah, you see her on it. She's like 5-star hotel, just a warm up, no problem. We got this. So
getting the needs together. So I'm enjoying myself. I didn't have a vacation all summer really. So I'm gonna get to it on the court, but I'm gonna be on the beach tomorrow too after practice. So
as you
know how it goes.
Great. So I think on that note, we're going to wrap up here, episode 140. Appreciate all the listeners. We're not going to mention the other pods right now. We don't have the time, and we want to get them to do a little bit more. We're kind of out here doing as many as we can. We're at episode 140 again. We appreciate Jeremy Fears jumping on. He came to California and got back into school, so we really appreciate his time. But I think for now, for Ani and Chelsea, we're going to get out of here.
Peace.
Bye, guys.